effective immediately, the royal household will cease all engagement with Mrs. Meghan Markle in any form, capacity, or extension. Those 31 words, delivered at 6:40 a.m. London time from Prince William's private office in Kensington Palace, detonated through the United Kingdom like a seismic shock. For the first time in modern royal history, the future king has publicly severed ties with a family member still holding royal titles. But the force of William's announcement was not simply in what he said, rather in how he said it. Calm, cold, absolute. This was no leaked memo. No, source close to the palace. This was William himself, stepping forward after King Charles transferred full crisis communication authority to him and Catherine, a move that insiders say marked the beginning of a new royal era. And with Charles battling health pressures and a collapsing public trust in Buckingham Palace's old communication style, this shift was more than symbolic. It was strategic. It was survival. 2 nights before William's declaration, Charles signed a private directive at Clarence House, known among aides as the Autumn Mandate. Catherine, Princess of Wales, would assume total authority in handling the fallout from Meghan Markle's resurfacing Epstein-related mentions, the leaked letters, and the rising American media hostility. But in that same directive, William was appointed executor, the man who would speak when the monarchy needed clarity, force, and decisiveness. And on this cold October morning, clarity is exactly what he delivered. Within hours of William's statement, Meghan's familiar narrative machine in California ignited with claims of royal bullying, emotional intimidation, systemic favoritism toward Catherine, unfair cruelty from King Charles. But William, who has spent 5 years refusing to publicly respond to Meghan's provocations, did something unprecedented. He answered, firmly, formally, and devastatingly. Standing before a thinned group of correspondents in the picture gallery, William stated, "No member of this family has bullied Mrs. Markle, and no one has favored my wife at her expense. What has occurred is the consequence of her choices, her actions, and her repeated efforts to undermine the integrity of this institution." Then, in a moment that stunned even senior palace reporters, he went further. "We have evidence of deliberate media manipulation, including paid placements targeting my wife's reputation. These did not originate from misunderstanding, but from intention." Multiple sources later confirmed that William was referencing a series of paid PR articles Meghan commissioned in late 2024, pieces implying that Catherine had weaponized her popularity and that King Charles felt threatened by Meghan's global appeal. Those outlets have since quietly removed the stories. William revealed for the first time that Meghan had privately coordinated with Sarah Ferguson, Fergie, exploiting Fergie's decades-long hurt and resentment toward the monarchy to create informal pressure channels against Catherine during the height of Catherine's cancer recovery in 2024. Attempts to create factions inside this family are unacceptable. Attempts to leverage vulnerable members of this family against others are intolerable. An aide later clarified that Fergie had been emotionally vulnerable and easily influenced, but William's statement made one thing unmistakably clear. Meghan wasn't merely a critic, she was building alliances. William then invoked a name no one expected him to, Prince Andrew. Transparency is not optional. It is required. We applied that standard to the Duke of York, and we will apply the same standard to Mrs. Markle. For a future king, to place Meghan in the same sentence as Andrew, the most disgraced senior royal in modern history, was a deliberate act of message setting. The monarchy will protect no one, not even an in-law who still benefits from royal titles. But what sent the room into absolute silence was William's final line on his brother. "I will not respond to any media inquiries regarding the Duke of Sussex, nor will I acknowledge or dignify Hollywood commentary involving him. Future engagement with him will not occur through public channels." William is done. Done protecting. Done explaining. Done waiting. And then came the line that broke whatever remained of the fraternal bond. The crown cannot be pulled into every storm created outside its walls. A direct reference to Harry and Meghan's live-streamed complaints, public accusations, and Hollywood narrative building. In an astonishing shift from protocol, William addressed Archie and Lilibet directly. They are innocent. They deserve stability, dignity, and an upbringing free from public conflict. If safeguarding them requires intervention, this institution will not hesitate. Senior aides immediately clarified, This was not a custody threat. It was a declaration of concern and a warning that the monarchy will not tolerate the children being used as media objects. Privately, a source close to William said, "He is heartbroken for those children. They are growing up inside a noise chamber created by their parents." Hashtag Stand With William was trending in the UK. American talk shows exploded in outrage. UK polls showed 72% support for William's stance. Support for Harry and Meghan dropped to 18%, the lowest since 2020. But inside Buckingham Palace, the mood was not celebratory. It was resolute. This was only the beginning. 2 weeks before the public declaration, inside a closed briefing at Windsor Castle, Prince William stood before 8 of the most trusted palace advisors and delivered a sentence that set everything in motion. "We can no longer be passive in the face of deliberate sabotage." Those words were not rhetorical. They were operational. At 5:55 p.m. that evening, the royal household activated a confidential strategy operation, internal code name Ivory Shield, to formally prepare for the strategic disassociation of the royal family from Meghan Markle. It was the first time since the abdication crisis of 1936 that a royal communications team invoked full-scale disengagement protocols toward a living member of the Royal Insider Network. The trigger? A series of newly leaked private messages and correspondence from Meghan, allegedly sent between 2021 and early 2023, surfaced in late September 2025. These documents, according to 2 separate palace officials, not only detailed personal grievances about King Charles's supposed emotional cruelty and disinterest during Meghan's pregnancies, but went further to accuse the king of orchestrating Catherine's public favor at Meghan's expense. Even more damning, the leaks suggested Meghan had contacted 2 US-based media advisors with direct links to Netflix, with one message reading, "If Charles won't protect me, then the narrative will protect me." Within 24 hours of that leak, senior figures within the royal household, spearheaded by Lady Fiona Walsingham, the palace's deputy head of sovereign affairs, held back-to-back briefings with legal counsel and former MI5 risk auditors. The conclusion? Meghan was not just a rogue duchess. She was now a communications threat. On October 9, 2025, King Charles, already battling renewed health issues and facing dwindling approval ratings in the wake of Prince Andrew's housing scandal, made what some called the most significant internal shift since his coronation. In a sealed royal order known as Memo 2485, Charles transferred full public crisis command to the Prince and Princess of Wales. This meant 2 things. William would become the monarchy's sole public voice on all matters involving the Sussexes. Catherine would control all narrative framing, media relations, and audience tone calibration regarding the future of the family's image. This decision, described by an insider as Charles's last clean slate moment, signaled the palace's shift from reactive defense to proactive narrative leadership. "William isn't just cleaning up a mess," one former royal communications chief told us. "He's drawing a new boundary for the modern crown." Behind the scenes, William had been quietly tolerating Meghan's media provocations for years. But the final straw, according to insiders, wasn't what Meghan did. It was what Harry didn't do. After multiple statements from Meghan framing the palace as racist, elitist, and emotionally abusive, Harry remained publicly silent, but privately compliant. William reportedly reached out to his brother in early October with a firm message. "You know, this isn't true. You lived it. You know Catherine has never acted with malice. So why are you silent?" Harry's response, as reported by a palace aide, was cold, "Because speaking the truth means I lose everything." To William, that was a betrayal too far. "He's not protecting her anymore," the aide said. "He's enabling her." That, say royal observers, is what catalyzed William's pivot from restraint to confrontation. One of the most painful chapters in this unfolding royal rupture is the question of Archie and Lilibet. During his public address, William made clear that the crown had no intention of stripping the children of their rights or dignity, but he also delivered a line that shook audiences. If the cost of silence is the emotional well-being of children, then this silence must end. Multiple sources confirmed that the palace has explored legal avenues to offer guardianship protections for the children in the event of prolonged parental instability or public exposure. While no legal action has been taken, the message to Meghan and Harry was unmistakable. The children are not bargaining chips. As Catherine privately stated to a senior aide, We will not let those children become characters in a play written for California audiences. One of the more surprising turns came when Prince William publicly acknowledged Sarah Ferguson's role in bolstering Meghan's inner circle. Sources say Meghan and Fergie reconnected discreetly in early 2025 at a charity dinner in Monaco. Over the months that followed, Fergie, feeling increasingly estranged from Charles, and began acting as an informal sounding board for Meghan's frustrations with Catherine and the broader royal structure. But William's team uncovered a series of encrypted messages and communications between Meghan and Fergie, allegedly strategizing a media rollout to discredit Catherine's fragile queen image during her illness recovery period. The exposure of this collaboration triggered Fergie's immediate removal from upcoming royal events and sent a chilling warning to other extended family members. Loyalty is not optional anymore. By the end of October, all palace departments were instructed to remove the Duke and Duchess of Sussex from mailing lists, ceremonial briefings, and diplomatic liaison protocols. The official language used in internal files: zero access status effective until further notice. But it was William's final internal memo to staff that encapsulated the stakes. The crown cannot be bound by fear of scandal. If we are to be worthy of the public's faith, we must demonstrate discipline, boundaries, and a refusal to enable emotional blackmail. For the first time in decades, the monarchy isn't retreating in silence. It's drawing lines in stone. Just 72 hours after Prince William's thunderous declaration, a new storm began brewing. This time not from Windsor, but from the glittering hills of Montecito. At exactly 8:01 a.m. Pacific Time, a carefully orchestrated media cycle was launched across Los Angeles and New York. Front-page leaks, unnamed insider reports, and a sudden flurry of calls from Meghan Markle's PR firm to Netflix, Spotify, and multiple Hollywood trade outlets. The headline was synchronized. Exclusive: Meghan breaks silence after royal fallout. But Meghan didn't appear in person. Not yet. This was a soft launch retaliation, and it was carefully curated. Sources from within multiple entertainment agencies confirmed that Meghan's team had prepared for this moment for months. The media playbook deployed mirrored the structure of a celebrity crisis recovery package: deflect, reframe, hint, and monetize. Phase 1, victimhood and resilience. Journalists received pre-cleared phrases through intermediaries. Meghan feels she was never truly accepted by the Windsor family. There was emotional cruelty behind the scenes, especially during her second pregnancy. Her mental health was dismissed, her ideas minimized. Phase 2, revenge through reinvention. Meghan's team emphasized her next chapter: wellness investments, a new children's book, a potential docuseries on healing generational trauma. The underlying message: she doesn't need the crown. She's building her own. Phase 3, use the children as anchors. The most provocative detail leaked was a quote from a close friend, printed in Variety. All Meghan wants is to raise her children in peace. But when the institution attacks, her instinct is to protect them like any mother would. Within 36 hours, Kensington Palace issued an unusually blunt rebuttal. The Crown categorically denies any claim that seeks to reframe a pattern of deliberate provocation as victimhood. We will not respond further to speculative content promoted for commercial gain. More importantly, William personally instructed legal counsel to initiate preliminary steps for title removal. A highly confidential royal document, known internally as Order W-17, was sent to the Privy Council for review. The request: strip the Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles in full. Issue a formal advisory to British embassies worldwide not to recognize Meghan or Harry as working royals in any form. Freeze royal property entitlements, ceremonial listings, and diplomatic access. This wasn't just royal scorn. It was a full constitutional uncoupling. Inside the entertainment world, the reaction was not unanimously supportive of Meghan and Harry. Executives at several major streaming platforms privately admitted royal fatigue among viewers. One veteran dealmaker at a major studio, who had negotiated directly with Meghan's representatives in 2023, told us, "There's only so many times you can burn the same bridge and expect a round of applause. This drama may sell headlines, but it's burning long-term capital." Others were more blunt. William has the global institution. Meghan has Instagram and Oprah. There's no real comparison in gravitas. Still, not everyone turned away. A major book publisher in New York reportedly fast-tracked Meghan's upcoming memoir project, while a podcast production company reopened discussions for a limited series involving untold royal secrets from her perspective. Translation: the media war is just getting started. Back in London, neither King Charles nor Princess Catherine has made any public comment, but their silence is deliberate. Palace aides confirmed that Charles has authorized William to act on behalf of the sovereign in all communications concerning the Sussexes. This subtle but powerful transfer reinforces the message: the era of royal ambiguity is over. Meanwhile, Princess Catherine has resumed public engagements, notably appearing at a pediatric cancer center in Oxford just 3 days after Meghan's Hollywood leaks. Observers noted her composure, her grace, and her singular, symbolic choice of attire, a brooch shaped like an anchor. Royal fashion analysts called it a subtle message: stability in the storm. One child reportedly asked Catherine if she was okay, referencing media speculation about her health. Her reply: "I'm very well, thank you. We all have to be strong sometimes, don't we?" Those 7 words went viral within hours and were viewed by many as a quiet rebuke to Meghan's public despair narrative. The palace's most devastating signal, however, wasn't directed at Meghan. It was aimed squarely at Prince Harry. In a confidential briefing leaked to the Times, an advisor summarized William's private position: "We can accept grief. We can accept differences. But we cannot accept betrayal. Not after all we've endured." William, in a final note to senior staff, made his personal stance unequivocal: "Harry is my brother, but I will not allow him to use our family name while it is being weaponized against our institutions." That era is over. Insiders say this is the last off-ramp for Harry. If he continues aligning with Meghan's media strategy, he risks losing all official recognition, including royal titles, ceremonial privileges, and, most heartbreakingly, the chance to rejoin any future family legacy projects. As one palace aide put it bluntly, he must choose the drama or the dynasty. As Prince William delivered one of the most forceful rebukes in modern royal history, all eyes turned, naturally, to the woman beside him, Princess Catherine. No longer just the Duchess of Cambridge, no longer just a supportive consort, but the de facto guardian of royal dignity, now stepping into a visible mantle of moral authority once held by Queen Elizabeth herself. And not a single word from her was necessary. Catherine's first public appearance following William's declaration was nothing short of emblematic. She arrived at the St. Bartholomew's Foundation Gala in a minimalist cream gown, with no tiara, no dramatic entrance, just a single white poppy pin to her neckline. The symbolism was unmistakable: peace, remembrance, and restraint. Despite the firestorm swirling around her name, fueled by years of headlines, comparison narratives, and now direct allegations from Meghan's Hollywood sympathizers, Catherine's demeanor remained resolute, kind, and almost surgical in its calmness. One royal correspondent on site noted, "The temperature dropped the moment she entered, not because she was cold, but because she cooled the room with clarity." Insiders have confirmed that the past 6 months have taken an enormous toll on Catherine's well-being. Between caring for her children, supporting Charles during his treatment, and managing a royal calendar now nearly double its usual weight, she has had little space for reflection, let alone retaliation. And yet, when questioned privately about Meghan's accusations of favoritism and bullying within the royal household, Catherine gave a response that stunned even veteran aides. "I forgive her, but I will not absorb her pain as my fault." This statement, shared behind palace walls but soon leaked to the Telegraph, was described as less a denial, more a refusal to be emotionally manipulated. It reflects the new ethos the palace is now embracing under William and Catherine: directness without cruelty, response without drama, and above all, duty over distraction. While King Charles remains monarch in title, it is Catherine, alongside William, who is now wielding the crown's emotional authority. In moments when Charles's health or public sentiment hangs in the balance, it is Catherine who enters the space left behind by Queen Elizabeth, steady, maternal, and unshaken. A veteran royal historian remarked, "In a monarchy built on symbolism, Catherine has become the new center of gravity. And it didn't require a throne, it required trust." The public, it seems, agrees. Polls taken by the Times and YouGov show an overwhelming majority of British citizens, Over 76% now view Catherine as the most trusted royal figure above Charles, William, or even the late Queen's legacy markers. And as one young mother tearfully told reporters after seeing Catherine at a children's hospital, she doesn't need to speak. She just needs to show up. That's enough for me to believe the monarchy still has a heart. The words came not from anger, but from sorrow. And yet, their impact struck harder than any royal decree in living memory. At a closed-door briefing held at Kensington Palace, Prince William made the final, irrevocable move. As of today, he began, the royal family formally and permanently severs all institutional ties with Meghan Markle. And going forward, we will not respond to, endorse, or acknowledge any media or public statements made by her or her representatives under the guise of royalty. It was a line in the sand, and for the first time, it included his own brother. Behind this decision lies a deeply fractured relationship, one that had once been filled with laughter, rugby matches, and wedding speeches. But William, always the pragmatist, had been watching from the shadows as the Sussex brand evolved from sympathetic outcasts into aggressive disruptors. The final straw, a string of leaked production memos and insider testimony revealing Meghan's coordinated effort to pitch a Netflix docuseries where she would reframe royal motherhood by contrasting her own parenting journey with that of Catherine, insinuating favoritism, emotional neglect, and institutional racism. It was Meghan's quiet alliance with Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, long estranged from senior royals, that particularly enraged William. According to royal insiders, Ferguson had acted as a strategic advisor to Meghan, leveraging old grudges into new media attacks aimed squarely at Catherine. William reportedly told aides, "That wasn't media strategy. That was warfare." And then came the ultimate betrayal. In a speech delivered in Hollywood, Harry criticized the monarchy's emotional cruelty, directly invoking William's name. Worse still, he implied that William had ignored Meghan's suicidal ideation, a claim that insiders say is not only untrue but deeply misleading given the private medical care Meghan received through palace channels in early 2019. William's response was not rage. It was a strategic detachment. "If Harry chooses to walk a path of distortion, I mourn that choice," he said, "but I will no longer follow behind him cleaning the footprints." But perhaps the most shocking moment came when William turned the discussion to Archie and Lilibet. In a move that stunned even his closest advisors, he stated, "If the environment they are growing up in becomes toxic beyond repair, the Crown will offer sanctuary, not as a royal claim, as a duty to two children born into chaos." The statement, though legally symbolic and not enforceable across jurisdictions, was a moral thunderclap. William accused Harry and Meghan of weaponizing their children for public empathy while exposing them to a never-ending storm of scandal, press manipulation, and unstable narratives. He cited examples, their photos being withheld unless media outlets used correct language, conflicting accounts of christening invitations, the use of Lilibet's name, which had deeply hurt Queen Elizabeth in her final months. And most jarring of all, the children had been included, by name, in scripts pitched to producers in California, according to documents now circulating among royal legal teams. William's quiet fury was palpable. "We lost our mother to a world of flashing lights and broken truths," he said. "I will not watch another generation of children grow up under the weight of someone else's trauma." To underscore the gravity of his words, William invoked the monarchy's response to Prince Andrew, his uncle, long stripped of duties and titles due to scandal. This institution does not reward disgrace with continued privilege. Whether that disgrace is financial or emotional, public or private, the principle remains: no one exploits this crown without consequence. And with that, William formally initiated the revocation process, Meghan's remaining honorary designations to be suspended. The Sussex brand is no longer permitted to appear on royal program literature. Harry's last two military affiliations, held in honor but not in duty, to be reviewed and likely revoked. Even more, William made a quiet but pointed request that Hollywood agencies cease using the term royal when promoting Harry or Meghan unless legally cleared by Buckingham Palace. King Charles, recovering from another round of treatment, issued no immediate statement, but sources say he quietly endorsed the move, acknowledging that the time had come to protect the monarchy from self-cannibalization. Meanwhile, Princess Catherine's support was both subtle and significant. At a youth literacy event the following morning, she read from a children's book titled The Tree That Stood Alone But Grew Strong. The press interpreted it as a message to Harry. Perhaps it was also meant for William. In the press pen, a reporter whispered, "The palace isn't just drawing lines anymore. They're planting roots." As the dust begins to settle around Prince William's unprecedented statement, it becomes clear that the issue at hand was never simply about Meghan Markle. Nor was it just about Prince Harry, nor the string of interviews, documentaries, or tell-all memoirs. This, insiders say, was about restoring a fractured reflection. The royal family's reflection, shattered by years of mistrust, blurred boundaries, and misused visibility. And William? He's not just holding a line. He's rebuilding the mirror. For the past 5 years, the British monarchy has struggled to maintain moral clarity in the age of influencer politics and emotional marketing. From Oprah Winfrey's 2021 interview to the recent Vanity Hollywood Gala speech by Harry, the royal family has been reactive rather than strategic. That changed the moment Charles handed William full authority on public positioning regarding Meghan Markle. This was an act of institutional preservation, says Sir Thomas Redgrave, a former royal press secretary. But more importantly, it was an emotional declaration that the monarchy will no longer allow its image to be hijacked, manipulated, or disrespected. William's tone, direct, almost surgical, signaled a shift from diplomacy to doctrine. And in doing so, he reasserted the principles of merit, responsibility, and earned grace. No more ambiguity about who speaks for the crown. No more passive tolerance of contradictory narratives. No more soft indulgence of external family drama bleeding into the fabric of constitutional stability. Though not the subject of William's press briefing, Catherine's role was impossible to ignore. Time and again, Meghan's grievances, public and private, returned to comparisons with the Princess of Wales. Accusations of favoritism, rumors of rivalry, alleged palace coldness. Yet, Catherine never responded publicly, even as she was blamed for everything from a tear over flower girl dresses to symbolic snubs at royal events. Sources close to Kensington say this silence was not passivity. It was protection for her children, for the crown, and for a husband caught between brotherhood and burden. "You don't build a future monarchy on noise," one insider remarked. "You build it on consistency." And Catherine has been the most consistent figure we've had since the Queen. Indeed, Catherine's recent increase in royal engagements, including stepping into charitable leadership roles previously reserved for the monarch, signals not just survival, but ascension. Her name is now associated with trust, discipline, and international goodwill, especially after her acclaimed diplomacy during the Vatican summit and her global women's health initiative. And it is this contrast between sustained service and self-authored chaos that William has finally chosen to highlight. William's remarks also included a subtle but powerful warning to entertainment and media empires. No one under the illusion of royalty should be permitted to exploit it without authorization. Titles do not travel where responsibility does not follow. This statement, though polished, was a direct shot across the bow of Netflix, Spotify, Penguin Random House, and every other platform that has benefited from the Sussex story without respecting the crown's legal and symbolic boundaries. William is demanding a new standard. If you're profiting from royal identity, you're either inside the tent or you're not royal at all. Perhaps the most compassionate and controversial element of William's intervention remains his appeal for Archie and Lilibet's protection. While no legal motion has been filed, his public willingness to provide a safe, apolitical, and structured upbringing for the Sussex children, if ever needed, has stirred debate across both British and American audiences. Some see it as a veiled custody challenge, others as a heartfelt cry to shield innocence from inherited turmoil. Royal historian Dr. Eleanor Barnett believes it is something else. It was an olive branch to the next generation. William isn't trying to steal them. He's trying to give them an option if they grow up and realize fame was their parents' choice, not theirs. It's a moral high ground and a strategic wedge. As this drama recedes from headlines and returns to palace walls, one reality becomes clear: Catherine's influence will only grow. Insiders confirm that King Charles privately told aides he was deeply satisfied with William's tone and fully supports Catherine assuming more symbolic duties, including representation at the Commonwealth Heads Summit and her anticipated speech at the UN Women's Assembly next spring. The message to the world is undeniable. The monarchy is no longer willing to orbit around scandal. It is realigning around service. William's stance, unwavering, exacting, was not an emotional outburst. It was the official act of a man preparing to rule. And perhaps the most consequential moment in it all was what he chose not to say. There was no reference to reconciliation, no hint of eventual return, no room left open for second chances. Just the echo of a man who once called Harry his best friend, now choosing loyalty to legacy over loyalty to blood. If you use the crown to wound it, William said quietly, you forfeit the right to speak in its name. The mirror is restored, the reflection has changed, and the era of indulgence is over.